Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Yes, that was deliberate. Slightly stop start on the actual zoom. I just wanted you to take in the Matchbox loveliness. Oh, suits you sir. Anyway, none of that today. But this is episode 10. Now I did promise you in episode 9 we were going to have the red range. I was preparing you mentally for the goodness and the sheer scale and size of the red range kits. Basically I lied. No, what I've decided is, I did mention in that episode, you'll have seen, right at the beginning, we were talking about the missing lightning. I found it now. I knew it was a little bit of trouble with my the list. It was on the list, but it's not in the correct box. Anyway, we've located everything now. So one or two bits of clear up of items that we mislocated. The Lightning P38, Junkers JU188, my most popular review of a Matchbox kit ever. I'll rephrase that, of one that I own, because I think Jason at Model Kits, that he lent me the Corvette, I think that was the most popular ever. But this is the most popular ever that I actually own, because I had to give the Corvette back, I'm afraid. But anyway, so that's a very popular one, I know you like that. The Messerschmitt 110, which is a real absolute 10 out of 10 mint example. We've got the Douglas Havoc, which is another mint example, but it's a later one, but boxed and wrapped. I mentioned Jason, who's a big ship fan, with a P. And I've got the USS Indianapolis, which was, and by the way, several of these kits, I've got to tell you, here's an interesting point. I'm going to get a little bit of a plug, a little bit of a plead, a bit of a shameless grovelling here. Quite cheeky with it. So I'm going to say that the Indianapolis, the Gladiator and the Junkers were all donated to me at no charge to me by you viewers. So I say thank you, and I can't remember it, please forgive me, it's not without going back and looking at all hundreds of emails, I just can't remember who said what. So if you're the one that donated one of those, please shout up. I think John Fogo did he offer the, was it the Junkers? I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway, I've had a few that have been donated by people very kindly. And you might say, well, why should I give you my precious Matchbox kits? But the thing is, here's the thing, these people that did donate them have actually been pretty wise, because in the short to medium term, you haven't really lost them, have you? Because they're going to keep popping up like a bad penny every Matchbox March, and you're going to see them again in all their glowing Matchbox goodness. It's like giving it to a museum. It's not gone, it's not disappeared into the Lost Ark warehouse. Well, it has, but it comes out like Dracula. It comes out once a year into the light, does its business in March, and then goes back again, and the US military bang it up in the boxes and wheel it away into the secret warehouse. So the point is, anyway, if anybody wants to, this is the cheeky bit, which is, and I'm just joking really, anybody wants to donate some Matchbox kits, but they must be preferably in mint condition. Even if you want to just loan them for a year or 18 months or something like that, that's not a problem, you can have them back. But especially the ones I haven't got, you know, things like Walruses. I've already got, Bobby's going to lend me his Walrus. Walruses, Big Lysander, you know, that sort of stuff. And I haven't, you know, I say, it's just nice that you're not really losing them. You get to see them again and again and again, so I'm a very good cause. Anyway. I mentioned the Lysander. There's lots. I've got the Gladiator. I just spotted it. I did spot the Lysander, but I haven't got the original boxing of it. I've got the later boxing and the Revell boxing. So I decided I didn't want to corrupt, you know, my Matchbox mark with any Revell boxings. Really, I really am focusing mainly on the original boxings from Lesnick where I can. And there we go. So I thought we'd go through these. I said I was going to. You know, it sounds like I've made some false promises, like a politician, you know, lying. Who knows what I'll promise next? As long as I don't get shot, I'll be okay. Just joking. But here we go. So you know I'm not lying. Here is just one of many lost arks containing the red range. If you look at the bottom, there's 2 Phantoms, and there are 4 B-25 Mitchells in there. And don't worry, it's coming soon in episode 11. Episode 11, Matchbox Heaven, all coming soon. Anyway, I'll get rid of my list and put that over there. So let's just get stuck into these, and then we can warm you up for the big ones that are to come. And then finally, episode 12, And sorry, I was just going to say, talk about Matchbox March. As you probably gathered already, it's because I started a bit late. It's sort of bleeding into April. I don't think anybody's going to mind, really. I think that I don't want to rush them and put them on every night and bore people. So, yeah, by the time you see this, I think we'll be at the cusp of April, pretty much, end of March, start of April. So the last 2-3 episodes might be a bit late, but I don't think anybody's going to mind, are they, really? So that's where we're going with this. I think what we'll do is we will just have a quick look at the Gladiator, because this is a purple range, which I thought I'd covered already. But one of the reasons I wanted to cover this is it's another one with an interesting colour scheme, and I thought it was worthy of having a little bit of a nosy. So let's have a look. And by the way, thank you for all the wonderful comments that you've given me about Matchbox March. Obviously my Matchbox March is not the same as other people's. Other people's is a disgusting pagan festival where they build these beautiful, beautiful, precious kits that are irreplaceable. And you can joke about it, we joke about it, but it's true. You know, they're going to be like the dodo bird if you keep doing that. Shame on you, hang your head in shame. Little angels die every time you build one of these, especially one of these very early editions. So my Matchbox March is more about nostalgia and celebrating the brand, looking at as many as possible that are in really almost like new condition. And I can tell from the comments from some of you that it does take us all back. It's not just me. It does take you back, doesn't it, to those what seemed like almost always sunny days and, you know, child-free childhood days, carefree, I should say, carefree childhood days, when you were younger and the world seemed a lot simpler, and, you know, things were a bit more black and white and simple and fairer, and people weren't getting in knots about all sorts of silly nonsense and inventing reasons to be offended, etc, etc. The world was very simple then, and it was a much nicer place, I think. And I'm not just being an old fogey saying that. I'm sure many of you have been nodding in agreement saying, well, yeah. And I'm afraid that the younger generation, they'll naturally disagree, say it's just some old bloke. But that's because they've not experienced that world that we had. And, you know, there was no internet, there was no phones, no smartphones. We just had TV to entertain us. You couldn't go on YouTube and look at programmes like this. You'd have to watch it on the BBC. Although that's when the BBC was actually good. I'm sure many of you agree with me there too. And it can be relied upon for its impartiality and common sense, which is certainly not the case today. But anyway, I'm not going to go off on that. But yeah, life was simple, life was more fun. I think to be a child then, I look back on it now, if I'm honest, and I think it's and look, when we doing these shows, my wife said to me, I'll summarise it. She said to me yesterday, she said, this must be like being a child back in a sweet shop or a model shop or the local post office with all the sweets on one side and all the models on the other, which is pretty much what it was where I lived. I initially lived out in the sticks in Suffolk, and then I went to live in Cumbria, and they were both idyllic places for a child, especially the Cumbrian one because that was on the coast, so we had a seaside. And you know, you had several people selling these kits. We had the post office, we had the little model shop, that was also the DIY hardware and wool shop I mentioned before, and we had a little sort of beach store shop right on the seafront. So we had 3 places you could get Matchbox kits. It's just great, really, you know. And, you know, nice sunny days, we'd be on the beach. My sister and I used to fly kites, would you believe, in those days? Flying a kite, just fun times, you know. And I don't see children today, sounds like I'm having a rant now, but I don't see kids today having the same sort of fun that we did. They're very stressed, they can get bullied on their phone, they can get bullied in their own home now. It's just not. The world has not improved. I don't care what people say. Technology's improved. I don't think technology has not improved mankind, I don't think. Sorry to sound a bit down, but I just don't think it's the same. And I wouldn't want to be a child today. I don't think I would. I'd like to be younger again, but not in this current world. I just want to go back to 1973 to 77. I think that was the golden era. So here we are. I'm going to do that for you now. I'm going to transport you right back in time. Let's go. Enough of my ranting and moaning and being a Victor Meldrew, you know. But I'm sure that many of you, you know, we were joking the other day about, was it the tanks where, the Panther tank, wasn't it? Where I said, oh God, it looks like it was so bright orange. It was day glow orange. One of the sprues was absolutely ridiculous. That was. And trust me, the camera, as I said at the time, I'm just going to reiterate it, the camera, I've looked at it now, I've seen after the video's been shot, the camera tones it down, it kind of compensates, and it's not, it was really extreme. It was like the McLaren bright sort of fluorescent red stroke orange that McLarens used to use. And talking of that, to prove my point, when I used to watch TV, before I used to go to Grand Prix racing in the sort of early mid-70s, up to the late 70s, shall we say, when I didn't actually attend the events, I always thought the Marlboro McLarens were red and white, and of course they weren't. It was this day-glow, shocking colour, fluorescent red, and the TV cameras damped it down and made it look red. And that's what happened with the other day with that Matchbox Panther tank. I almost needed sunglasses, it was so bad, it almost hurt your eyes, it was that extreme. It was ridiculous. It was just like day glow. Anyway, we move on. Let's have a look at this. So I was just saying, you know, and the point I was trying to get to was that I quoted other things from childhood. Spangles, you know, those little sweets we used to, hard sweets we used to enjoy. Refreshers, fruit salads, all that stuff, drumsticks, you know, all the Swizzles, Matlow sweets, I used to like them. Made in Cheshire, actually. And what was the other one? Chewits was another one. Opal fruits, very much an opal fruit. Perhaps it was more opal fruits than Spangles, actually, that orange. But you know what I mean? These are the things we all remember, and wagon wheels and all that stuff. I'm just trying to take you back. Just anyway, sit back and enjoy the next sort of hour, I think it'll be, and see if you can enjoy it again, and we'll go back to our childhoods all over again. I used to have war games in the sun. I remember with the Harrier. When I built the Harrier, which was the first one, my friend Philip, he also built a Harrier, but he did it in the American colours, AV-8A. And we were having war games with our dinky tanks, and we had the Harriers as close air support. It was brilliant. We had such fun, you know. We didn't need the internet, you know. We weren't looking at porn or anything else that was violent or damaging or made you feel uncomfortable. Just children having fun, you know. And if we weren't doing that, we're out on our bikes in the sunshine, you know, just having a good time. And that's what it should be about, being a kid. It's not the same anymore, is it? I mean, if ever there was a company, I'm kind of going on again, but if ever there was a company who tuned into that, this was that company, Lesney, with the Matchbox kit. They'd already tuned into it when you were sort of 5 or 6 with the toy cars, even younger. And then when you got to it's almost like they were following, it's like they were spying on me and my generation and saying, right, he's 7 now, it's time to drop the big bombs on him with Matchbox kids and really make him come to life and get his hand in his... We want his pocket money. Let's get all the kids' pocket money. Oh, sounds like a Bond villain again, doesn't it? But that's kind of what they were doing, you know. Because some of them, as I mentioned, some of them it was just, oh, God. Mr. Newsagent, you know, please just take my money. I have got to have that Jaguar, you know. What was the other one I was saying that was just incredible? Well, with some of the Red Range I'll talk about, you know. The Phantom was another one. You know, take my money. Just, how much is it? It's 76 pence. Take my money. Just take the money. Take it. I don't want the money. Just give me that kit. I've got to have it. Oh, want it, do you, sir? He'd be like, want it, do you, sir? Oh, well, it's 79p this week. Oh, I'm joking. It wasn't like that at all. But you were desperate for it. You just wanted these things because they were such good fun. Made you have a smile. And then you'd be at school, you know, the following Monday, and everybody'd be comparing. Sometimes I used to take them into school and compare with my friends. I bet you were all the same. And I'd just say, oh, yeah, look, you know, I just built the Messerschmitt 109. Or I built the Brewster Buffalo or the Gladiator, and they'd say, oh, you didn't paint it then this time? No, didn't need to, it's Matchbox. So, yeah, it's a pity about the colours though, isn't it? Anyway, on that note, let's get straight into it, because I've talked enough rambling on about being a child in the 70s. Here we go. So we've got some very strange colour choices again on this Gladiator, haven't we? Number 73, over the North Sea, doing some exercises here. I don't know, over the North Sea, whereabouts are they? Don't know. Anyway, on the back, this is a 1973 kit, and it's BK8, it's one of the first generation. It's not the first generation box though. I don't know if this one actually did come with a lift top box or not. Perhaps some of you might know. It's the sort of information. It's very hard to find. That is actually you've either got one or you haven't, sort of thing. So there you go. You have got two options. One's got the strange Swedish crowns on it, very odd. And that's based at Barkarby in Sweden in 1938. Obviously we sold these widely. And then we've got, and of course these were, you know, the Gladiator was used, wasn't it? Faith, Hope and Charity. Was that the Sea Gladiator? I always forget. One of the versions of the Gladiator was of course using Malta, defence of Malta, shooting down a lot of Italian Aeromachis and Fiats. Anyway, let's have a quick look at this. It's in a bag as well, what a joy. I'm starting to think I should go through my collection and actually bag them all. Because it does help protect from scratching in particular, I've got to say. It does work in that respect. Oh, we've got quite a few bits falling out here. So we've got our propeller. So it's the cream, and it's the sort of lipstick red day glow again. Oh, like we had on the Nat and the Brewster Buffalo. But here's our propeller. Hey, look at that. Isn't that cool? There we go. That's the prop. It's off the sprue. We've also got our canopy come off. And we've got the cowling ring here. Cowling ring. Yeah. So, some very iffy looking decals. I'm not sure they're going to last well, really. Not too good. Little Swedish crowns on it. So let's give you a read of what it says. It says here, flown for the first time in September 1934. Gosh. The Gladiator was a development of the earlier Gauntlet. It was ordered by the RAF in 1935 and some 230 machines were built before the introduction of the Mark II version. 72 Squadron were the first to be equipped with the Mark I machines, which was also flown by 73 Squadron, whose famous markings are shown on these decals. These aircraft were also supplied to a number of foreign countries including China, Sweden and Finland. Gladiator marked the end of the simple seat biplane era in the RAF and was in fact obsolescent when first delivered to squadrons, although it acquitted itself well in service, especially in Malta. So you've got to remember that when it was at Malta, it was also against some Italian biplanes. They weren't all biplanes the Italians had, of course. But when it came up against their slower aircraft, it was super manoeuvrable, this plane. And it could turn on a sixpence, you know, and it could outturn the Italians and shot them to bits, frankly. Goodness knows whether they'd been in Malta without these Gladiators. But anyway, maximum speed, 245 mile an hour. It's not even as fast as a Le Mans car, is it? Similar. Anyway, very quickly. Small parts paint guide on the back. I'm going to try and zip through this fairly fast. Small parts on the rear. As you can see, usual thing, landing gear, engine, props, things like that, you know, and then the guide for the stand. Usual thing in terms of the instructions. Pilot seat going in, floor of the cockpit, bringing that in between the fuselage sides, tails and the rudder and the tail planes, cowling and your struts to support the front of the wing, and then you've got your engine and cowlings complete with your two-bladed spinner going in there. Bringing that all together, the wings coming on and the cockpit going on there. Then you've got these main struts for your wing, between the two wings, going together there. And then finally your gear and your engine assembly going on the front with the exhausts and your wheels and your tail wheel. All done. And it helpfully shows you the angle at which the dihedral angle at which this should look at the end. So we have the ubiquitous Matchbox stand here. Very nice. And then we have our very nicely formed, in fairness, in terms of the stretched skin effect of the wings. Okay. Top and bottom wings, of course. That's the top wing, that's the bottom wing. Looks really good. Looks really good. And then, you better get your sunglasses on for this. Again, the camera will tame it down so you won't get the full effect, but blimey, I almost need my Oakley sunglasses on, thermonuclear protection for this. Jeez, what are they thinking of? Why red? What is this obsession with red? Red arrows? Nat? Yes. Everything else? No. Why? Another flying target, yeah? But they've moulded it nicely, haven't they? It's all... it's got nice stretched skin effect. Panel lines are nice. It's actually very subtle and very nicely moulded, this is. You just got to put your shades on to actually build it, you know. Build it? What in the name of God are you saying? Don't build it. Not if it's an original. Come on, focus, damn you. There we go. You got all your struts, and you've yeah, that's kind of it really. There's not a huge amount to it, of course, but a very nice model indeed. If we just get a little bit of focus, I'd appreciate it very much. There we are. Nice. So there you go. So that's your Gloster Gladiator, famed for its defence of Malta. It's quite nice that they probably sent it to Malta really just as a desperate stopgap, you know. And it actually performed better than they expected, of course. It completely outperformed their expectations, and acquitted itself very, very strongly indeed. And I think the poor Italians must have thought at that time, you know, because they were the Axis force in World War II with the Germans and the Japanese, and they must have thought, ha, we're going to make mincemeat of these guys, not realising how good the plane was and just how good the pilot training was, and the fact that, you know, we had a history from the Royal Air Force from World War I and the Royal Flying Corps of a lot of experience in combat, and that really told over Malta and helped save them as a contributing factor. Right, that's the first one. I'm going to do the Indianapolis next to sort of get the odd ones out of the way, the unusual ones. So we're into ships, which I'm not an expert on, as you know. This is a famous ship, of course. This is the ship that is a heavy cruiser. Is it called a heavy cruiser or a medium cruiser? Portland class heavy cruiser, yeah. So it's not quite a battleship, but it's basically a small battleship, effectively. It was in a number of confrontations, and ultimately it was the ship, very important ship. Sadly, it didn't survive the war. I'll take that in a second. But it delivered the atomic bomb. They took it, I think, from San Francisco, San Diego, and they took it over to Tinian for the atomic bombings for the first atomic bomb. Fat Man. I think it's Fat Man, wasn't it? For the attack on Hiroshima. This ship took the bomb across to deliver it to the airfield on Tinian and Northfield. But then a few weeks later it was sunk by a Japanese submarine, and a very harrowing story where a lot of these guys were in the water for a day or two and they got eaten by sharks, a lot of them, and it's alluded to in Jaws, the movie, where Robert Shaw, his character Quint, he is one of the survivors allegedly from the Indianapolis, and this is where he got his hatred of sharks. There you go. Anyway, it's a very important ship. Nice artwork from Roy Huxley. Slightly less amazing on the side, if I'm honest. This sort of just slightly cartoonish style I don't really care for on that side. On the other side, this box, I say this was donated to me, so it's not a mint box. But this is it's still in fairly nice condition. And on this side, I do like it that they show you the finished model in its natural colours, and it looks like they've selected really sensible colours for this. Perfect, you know. And then on the back, it's got a window box as well. And this one is actually dated 1979, so this is just as they were getting into financial trouble. And I think these ships came out about 78, 79, most of them. And everybody speaks quite highly of the Matchbox kits on ships, actually. So I haven't got experience of building one, I only built Airfix. And you got a profile view of the ship. Anyway, let's have a look. So, I'll just zoom you back a bit. I am spoiling you a bit, aren't I? You know, I hope you're all going to I hope the check is in the post for all this. You know, do you know how many hours I've spent doing this? Let's not be a martyr. Nobody likes a martyr, do they? Okay. Oh, so we've got a bag with the. There's a couple of parts must be off the sprue here, so we'll just check them out. We won't take them out of the bag. So the gentleman who sent me this, he'll be pleased to see that everything's as it was, and you can see it's got the USS Indianapolis, the flag, the US Stars and Stripes flag that goes around the little mast, and then we've got this small part, not too sure what it is, that one, and then we've got another piece that looks like it's perhaps part of the I don't know what it is. I'm not going to pretend I do. Let's not go there. Right, so we've got 3 sprues. 2 sprues of grey, which I think we kind of have to do because they've got they have, this is off the sprue obviously, 79, yep. So this is a waterline model, so this is the flat base in effect. That is actually the base of the ship. Yeah, focus, yeah, that'd be nice, thank you. So 1979 as you can see, and then I say we have two sprues because they kind of have to have two the same. It's only a two colour kit. It just has to be like that because of the amount of grey. I think a third colour, if they had black, it would look a bit contrived. So I think they've done the right thing there. Right then, so USS Indianapolis. It's probably going to tell you some things I've already mentioned. Let's have a look. The two ships of the Portland class, the Portland and the Indianapolis, were direct descendants of the first US treaty cruisers, the Pensacola's. Limited by treaty to 10,000 tons and 20 centimetre guns, Indianapolis was laid down on the 31st of March 1930, so it was quite a relatively new ship. Completed in November 32, carrying 9 20 centimetre guns. It had 2 catapults and 2 float planes on a standard displacement of 9,950 tons. So 10,000 tons, let's call it. Doesn't sound that heavy really to me. Okay. She was the flagship of the US Navy's scouting force for many years until the outbreak of World War II, and in 1936 took President Roosevelt on a month-long goodwill tour to visit South America. She performed much valuable service during the war and became Admiral Spruance's flagship in late 1943. Okay. But her record is overshadowed by 2 events that took place in the closing days shortly before VJ Day. First, on the 16th of July 1945, she carried out a top-secret mission that was to have a profound effect on the outcome of the war and the future world. Her task was to transport the first operational atomic bomb from San Francisco to the Marianas Islands, Tinian, a task that was successfully accomplished. Second, by a strange irony, Indianapolis became the focus of the US Navy's worst disaster involving a ship at sea when on a voyage to the Philippines just 2 weeks later, after delivering her atomic cargo, she was hit by torpedoes, possibly K-10s, man-carrying suicide submarine torpedoes, from the Japanese submarine I-58 and sank in 12 minutes. Oh my lord. Her loss was not appreciated for 3 days. Oh, this is bad. There's trouble with the radio communication, wasn't there? By the time, nearly 900 of her 1,200 crew had perished. So they were just left drowning for 3 days. Isn't that awful? Anyway. So, a very important, very historic thing indeed. Let's have a look at this instruction book. And we will have a... You can see that you've got the write-up there, which is very well done. You've got your colour guide there, which is nice. Complete with small parts. It doesn't really have a small parts guide as such, does it? Isn't it? I guess most of everything's grey, really, isn't it? Sort of. And anyway, you're gonna put down your base, which you just saw, and then you're gonna build up your side hull, and then your deck, and then you've got some guns at the back. There's a lot of guns on this ship. 20-inch guns at the back, turret, guns at the front. You've got your funnels in section 2 going in here, in section 3. Then you've got your main superstructure in section 4. Section 5, I think that's the bridge area being built up. And then section 6, I think that's to do with the catapult for launching the float plane. Then you've got your superstructure for you've got like a forward bridge and like a rear superstructure, a forward superstructure containing radars and all sorts of things that you can see there. Didn't save them there, did it? Unfortunately. And then you've got your guns, and there's various. Various parts. I'm not sure what they are because I'm not a naval expert, but there we go. And then you bring all this together at the end, bringing in your final gun, your second turret of guns, forward superstructure, including the bridge, and the rear superstructure and the crane for the float plane, etc. All the lights, anti-aircraft guns. There's a lot of parts actually. Look at this. Oh, it's a little bit hard on the eye actually. So you got your folding float plane there. What was the float plane? I'm trying to think what it would be. It'd be a Curtiss seaplane, I think. I could be wrong. And then you've got all your radars and your antenna masts going in there. All your anti-aircraft guns on the side. There's actually a float plane on either side. It had 2 of them. So that's why it shows two there. One with folded wings and one with non-folded. And you got life rafts, going to need those when the sharks are around, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's a sad one, isn't it, that, actually. Right, okay, so let's have a look. So, obviously this base is off the sprue, as you'll have gathered already. And then over here we've got our chimneys, boiler chimneys from the engines. Funnels chimneys. I'm dropping out of the nautical terms again, you see. And then you got these are your gun emplacements, the turrets for the guns here. And then you've got the base of your superstructure there. On the second grey sprue, we then have the actual top deck is separated into the stern and the bow. So the bow here, and then over here we've got the stern. Look at me, don't I know my nautical terms? I could almost be a sailor. Everybody loves a sailor, don't they? Anyway, then we've got our float planes, you can see there. I think what the idea is, I think you're supposed to, they don't actually fold, you have to break off the wing and maybe make it fold to get your float planes with folding wings. And you've got more bits of the superstructure and various walkways, etc. And then on the dark grey, this is quite nice, you've got the actual, this is the bow and all the side superstructure of the ship, the actual side of the hull. This is where your armour plate belt would be, but obviously it wasn't sufficient, was it? Not against a very big, powerful, explosive torpedo stroke submarine. And then here you've got your crane lifts and your antennas and all the small parts, including all your guns here. Fantastic. There's a lot of parts. There's the hoist for the crane, for the float plane. Absolutely fantastic. Well, that's really good. I like that. And people do speak quite highly of these kits. They seem to like the Matchbox ships. You know, I mean, it's a 700th scale, so it's a small scale, of course. A little bit fiddly, perhaps, but yeah, people do seem to. You know, I've had one or two of you saying, please do the Indian. One of you said, I can't think which one. Only last week, I think, somebody said, please do the Indianapolis. So there you go, just to prove that I do listen to my subscribers. Trying to interact with them as best I can. My wish is your command. It's done. It is done. I've actually got the flaps is broken off in the box. I'll be a little bit careful with this. Nothing like that. Yeah, quite a historic ship. And there's plenty of other ships in the Matchbox range. Probably pick those up because they're probably not the biggest sellers of the Matchbox range, the ships. There's probably still a chance you can pick some of these up at a reasonably sensible price, you know, without breaking the bank, and hopefully in really good condition. I mean, that one's, the box is a bit average to good, but very grateful I was given that. It's something I shall be treasuring. Anyway, there we go. So now we're moving on to the aeroplanes, and talking of things I treasure that I was given, let's go to the third and final one, which is the JU-18A. Everybody seems to love this. Now this is actually, I noticed it's got a 60p price sticker on it. Which probably tells you that would be quite early on. That's probably about 1978, I think. Between 1978 and 1980 to have that price on it, I reckon. Now it's much earlier than that, of course. The actual model dates from 1974, it says here. And this is observing the Allied Arctic convoys, it would seem, across the Allied convoy bound for Russia. So it's one of the convoys, and they're getting ready to arrange a bombing raid on them, I suspect. So here we go. This is based in Denmark, this aircraft, and there's also a training unit, and it's quite remarkable with this huge, great bulbous glass house on this version of the this iteration of a Junkers. So it's like a Junkers 88 Plus, isn't it, with a huge observation deck almost. On the front, ideal for this sort of work, of course. On the side we have got our, looks like it's two-tone brown and green, maybe. We shall see. No, well, I can tell you that's wrong. It's actually more like a bluey grey. It looks like a yellow, bluey grey and sand colour. Bluey grey and sand. Oh, maybe it's not too far off what they're saying. And then on the other side we've got a couple of models I haven't got. I've had it before, the Domini. Well, I say the Domini. It's actually the Aug Siddeley HS125, the links. I've had both those kits, I've had all three, and of course the book here, I've got several of those. Anyway, let's have a look inside. Whoa! Okay, it's been spilling out some nice protective anti-moisture silica gel packet. I've definitely put that in there. And pulling out, we have got, yes, we've got like a chocolatey brown, we've got mustard stroke dog dirt brown, and like a dark bluey grey. Excuse me, we've got the ubiquitous Matchbox stand. I'll tell you what, let's put this there. If we're going to have something in the background, let's have the right one. Matchbox stand. We've got one of the props is off the sprue here, unfortunately. Might need attending to that. And then we've got our clear parts, and I'll start with the clear parts because it's quite interesting on this aircraft. It has got a split down the middle, which I have to be honest, I do not like ever. I never like to see that because it's really hard to get it glued together without making a mess of it and getting glue marks, and yeah, just causes issues, doesn't it? But there's a lot of it. You need a mask set for this. This is almost like one of those ICM kits, isn't it, really? Okay, well, it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. Quite like it though. Yeah, well, it's quite ambitious by Matchbox, that was. Then we've got our instructions. Let's have a look at what it says here. It says the ubiquitous Ju-88 was perhaps the most modified aircraft of all World War II planes used by the Luftwaffe and was used throughout the war. Progressive developments involve the 188 variant with an increased span, redesigned forward fuselage. And yeah, they've got, I just realised they extend the wingtips, don't they? It's got extended wingtips over the Ju-88. It's a bit like they did with the Marauder, actually. It first entered service in production in 1941. It was fitted with the BMW 801 G2 radial engines, same as on the Dorniers, I think, isn't it? And achieved 315 miles per hour, so it's not quick. It's not bad, not bad for a bomber, I suppose. The 188 was used as a bomber, torpedo bomber, reconnaissance, night fighter, and even a high-speed altitude bomber with a top speed of 429 miles per hour. Now we're talking. The model depicted is the F1 reconnaissance aircraft. Okay, 335 mile an hour top speed. Right, zoom in. So here we've got our small parts paint guide, and you can clearly see here that those are all the usual things: gear, props. Oh, spinners! You've got to put a couple of bands on the spinners. That'll be challenging. I'll tell you that now. Maybe use a bit of masking to achieve that, I think. And then you've got some of the internals of the cockpit and the cockpit walls and the seat and the pilots. Oh, it's got some German decals, not in the greatest condition, I think, but pretty good. And then we have got our typical run through. You've got a gunner that sits behind, almost like a Messerschmitt 410 or 110. Gunner sits behind the pilot. That cockpit area gets put into the fuselage like so. Then you've got this very tricky looking. Let me zoom you in. The tricky looking procedure of joining these two halves of the clear part. Be careful, you need some PVA glue because you don't want to be using super glue or ordinary cement for that. It will definitely cause you issues. And then you've got your rudder going on, horizontal stabilisers, engines being constructed, 2 of them, and then you're bringing in your wings, and you've got these extended wingtips, this longer outer wing. So it's quite a decent size, this kit, I think, when it's built. And of course, sorry, I forgot to mention, you've got the gunner's twin guns. He's got twin guns. Okay, twin guns on the back of the cockpit. You can see all that there, and then we've got the gear going in, and then finally building the gear, I should say, and the gear being actually put into the fuselage with the doors there. And don't forget, if you want to put it on a stand, just remember, don't forget to open up the slot for your stand in section 2. So, what have we got? Okay, so first of all, we have our fuselage. It's quite a strange shape when you see it like this. It looks like a Messerschmitt 110 almost, doesn't it? Very slender, you know. And then this is where we've got the missing propeller, which I'll just show you here. There we are, our missing propeller. And then we've got our rudder at the back there. Rings around the front of the engine nacelles, cowlings. And then on this side you've actually got your tail. It's a double-sided tail assembly. So there's your tail, got your landing gear wheels and tyres. And then over on the mustard, we'll call it mustard to be generous, got your engine nacelles there. They're quite deep, aren't they? It goes right in there, look at that. That's for you building up your engines. And then you've got these quite long wingtip extensions. It's quite an aero sort of style. It sort of scallops in, doesn't it, at the rear? It's quite interesting. And you've got they're quite a big tailplane, aren't they, at the back? It's quite a big area. And then you've got the inboard. This is all the top wing, of course, which is quite a good idea to have them different colours, I think. And you've got your main gear wheels and your machine guns. Don't know if you can make those out. There they are. MG34, I think. Yeah, pretty sure it is. And then last but not least, same again, but this time it's with the grey. Sort of dark, sort of battleship grey. It's almost like gunship grey, isn't it, actually? Did it only have a crew of 2 then? Doesn't say. I thought it had more than 2. I thought it had 3, but anyway. They're going to be busy, aren't they? One's shooting, defending it, one's flying the plane, and one's going to have to be doing observing. So I would have thought it was a crew of 3. Perhaps the experts amongst you can tell me. Nicely formed though. This is the lower. It's dark grey underneath. The lower wing. Got your spinners there, and you've got your pilots here. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I like those wingtips. Those are very cool. That sort of scalloping and the trailing edge. Very interesting. A nice model. Nice model. A lot of you will remember this, and this appears to be in its original colours, this one. So, a very nice kit indeed, and something to be, yeah, something for us all to enjoy. I like the fact it's in the 3 colours. So, pattern that together. Put that there. Quite tricky knowing how best to put it back, actually. The decals in there. We don't seem to have any covering film this time. I think what we should do is let's try and make it so there's something on display if we can. There we go. I'm just going to get your clear parts and your standing. I always try and make them face the instructions so they don't scratch if we can possibly avoid it. So if they face the paper, that should be okay. So that's our Junkers JU188. What a lovely model, eh? Very nice. I'm sure that'll bring back some memories for a lot of you, as will these. So we'll jump to the Lightning, I think, next. No, we'll do the Douglas. I can tell you what, let's just move them across now. Now this is interesting. This is a later edition kit which came out. This is definitely after Lesney had gone. Yeah, 1983, the year after Lesney, and it's in that period between Matchbox Lesney as we knew them and then the Macau Universal Products iteration. You can tell that because there's no Chinese writing on it, and there's a big blank area here where the window used to be. They've added a barcode, but there's no Chinese sort of connection at all. Whereas within a year or less, you get a lot of Chinese writing on these. But obviously, the Havoc is the Havoc or Douglas Boston, Douglas Havoc, 2 versions of the same basic aircraft. Here it's again some violent artwork, and it's Roy Huxley at work again. You see his signature there, and it says aircraft of the 675th Bomb Squadron, the Dauntless Demons, operating from Nome Fort Island in Dutch New Guinea, attacked Japanese airstrips and offshore oil wells on the island of Karam, is that? In the Molucca Islands, Southwest Pacific, September 1944. Oh boy. So we've got I actually opened this specially so that I could do a review on it previously. So we will just very carefully remove that tape, Tamiya tape, which holds it back together. Just with a bit of care. On the side you can see we've got the, looks like it's in maybe a two-tone brown I think, and grey, slightly strange choices. And then on the back you've got, there's a French option, because obviously the French were, the French actually were given some of these to use by the US. And that's actually in France, at Vitry-en-Artois, which is northeastern France I think. And then we've got the Havoc in the Southwest Pacific as per the box art. It's quite an interesting, camo scheme on that one I think. So let's have a look at it inside anyway and see what we've got. Quite a nice boxing, you know, the presentation is extremely good I've got to say. Another one of these American planes from World War II that's very heavily armoured. It's got a gun turret on the top and it's got 4 guns in the nose that I can just see. Let's see what we get on the other box. So we've got nice clear parts, we've got some, no it's wrong, it's not giving us accurate information about the colours. We've got Kermit Green back again. We've got some chocolate brown, Cadbury chocolate, and we've got some black. So they're way off on the box. We've got the brown right, but apart from that it's all wrong. So, what have we got here? It says, in 1936 the future requirements of the US Army Air Force were being considered. Northrop Aircraft Corporation investigated a replacement for the A-17. Spanish Civil War combat experience resulted in a more advanced design being projected, however, called the 7B. A prototype flew as early as 1938, which included interchangeable nose sections, enabling the machine to be built either as a fighter or a bomber. In 1943, the A-20G variant, this one, was introduced, fitted with a Martin-powered operated rear gun turret and a longer fuselage, again having alternative nose sections. Many machines were sent to Russia, and in Europe the USAAF carried out 39,492 sorties, good grief, with these A-20Gs. They were very common, weren't they, attacking the rail yards in northern France and pre-D-Day work and all that kind of thing. Alright, so what have we got? We've got some decals, which are in fairly good condition. This is a relatively late example of a kit from the Matchbox brand. Sadly, after the true Matchbox Lesney brand was gone, you got the Green Hornet. And then we've got our French markings, which are quite distinctive. Stars and bars. All looks very good, doesn't it? All looks very good. And then we have our instructions. Whoops. And on the back of those we have got our small parts paint guide. And it's just the usual stuff really, undercarriage, painting the pilot. A bit more detail on the pilot, that's quite good. 1 or 2 areas where paint the window, fuselage colour, okay, and then a bit of interior cockpit painting and the gear. All the usual stuff. You've got the pilot in here, so you've got a pilot and you've got a gunner, and then you have again I'm trying to figure out what the crew is. I think it's 3. But it's a little bit like a Beaufighter layout, isn't it? You've got a pilot on his own, and then you've got the gunner further back. So it's a bit Beaufighter-ish. So you've got this Martin gun turret going on. You've got the dihedral, a bit like the Marauder, dihedral tailplane. And then you've got this nose section. You've got a choice of noses. You have got a choice, literally, option here. You can have the clear glass nose. I think that's for the French version. Yes, French version has the clear glass nose, or the American version has the blunt gun nose, into which you put many guns very shortly. And you're building up your gear in your nacelles, building up your engines there, bringing all your wings together, aerials, etc. And then, as I said, many guns. Well, 4, isn't there? 4 cannons. It'll be 50 cals. Browning 50 cals in the nose, I think. And then you've got your gear doors, and don't forget, if you want to, you can have this. It doesn't actually tell you. I've just realised they've made a mistake. It doesn't mention opening up the slot. It shows a slot. Is it actually already open? No, it isn't. They've made a mistake here. There's a slot shown, but it doesn't mention that you should open it up. Normally they would have a... It sounds like something's missing there, isn't it? It's like a blank bit. I'm sure there's been some messing around with the artwork, and they've forgotten to put it in, and they've left a gap for the arrow to say don't forget to open up your slot for your Matchbox stand. No, wait. Of course, it's post Lesney, isn't it? This is a year after Lesney. What they've done, they've airbrushed it out. Because there is no stand on this one. Because it said Lesney, and Lesney was a company that went bust. So, that's why they've done that. So now we know. I wasn't thinking there. Right, let's have a look then. So we've got our lovely, it's a nice looking kit this actually. We've got our brown main fuselage sprue here. As you can see, which looks pretty nice. There's your nose there for your, it's going to have all those guns put into it. Yeah. And then you've got the two alternative types of nose here, or here. That's sort of the French version. It's going to have the glass house in it. Got your two crews. It must only have a crew of two then. After strange. I thought it was three. Again, they're going to be a busy crew, aren't they? A bit like it was in the Junkers 188, really. And then you've got this very nicely formed tailplanes. Sorry, it's oh no, it's the tail. It's so strange the way they've done that. So they've got the tail on one side, and then they've got a separate tail and no tail. So it's a slightly curious assembly process there. It's a little bit unusual, isn't it? See what I mean? No tail, so then they're going to put that gone about it in a strange way. It's almost like they couldn't make their mind about to do the sprue, really, isn't it? Anyway, that's that. Then we've got Kermit the Frog green. Good Lord. Here we go. We've seen this a few times, haven't we? And I've got to tell you, I don't know if you can, yeah, I think you can see it. It's almost translucent. You can see through it. See that? It's quite see-through. Yeah, that's quite odd. It's not very dense, the plastic at all. And it's a little bit inconsistent. Can you see that? Make this out. It's a little bit blotchy. I don't think they've had enough pigment in the actual plastic when they melted the pellets and added the pigment. It looks to me like it's gone a bit wrong. You can definitely see. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's just. Well, that's curious, isn't it, the way they've gone about that actually. Done that. I'm just trying to figure out the parts breakdown here. It's just a bit strange. I mean, it really does look almost see-through, doesn't it? I've not seen that before. I do think they've gone a bit light. It's almost like it's clear parts with a bit of green added. Yeah. Strange. And your engine nacelles, and there's your wing. Yeah. Okay. That's very odd. Even the pilot's seats are kind of see-through. Can you see what I mean? Very odd. And then last but not least, this is definitely not see-through. This is the black. This is the underwing. Yeah, the lower wing, the engines, spinners, props. Oh, sorry, not spinners, because they don't have a separate spinner. But yeah, all very standard stuff, isn't it? Really. Some curious design choices gone into this one, I've got to say. It's almost like the Lesney people that were doing all the clever designers had left, and they were left picking up the pieces trying to interpret somebody else's design. Excuse me, which can happen. Excuse me, I need a cup of tea. When we get to episode 12, they're going to have a stronger drink, actually. The last one. And then last but not least, of course, we've got this this very nice clear parts, and these actually look rather good. You've got your main canopy, cockpit area, and then of course you've got your Martin turret there for the guns, gun turret here, and then you've got your alternate glass house frontage if you go for the French version, where it doesn't have cannons in the nose. It's more of an observation deck. Excellent. That's a nice kit. Very nice kit, actually. Yeah, just one or two oddities there, weren't there, that we haven't really seen before. See-through green. We've had plenty of Kermit green, we had it on the Stuka and many others, but we've not had see-through green like that before. That was very curious. Right, so put that in there like so. To put this on the top. It's a shame about the them dropping the stands though. I do regret that. I think that it's because because the mould, the tool, clearly had the Leslie name heavily engraved into it, and they obviously couldn't do anything with it. Otherwise, I'm sure that have done something about it and just erased the name. But I don't think it was that simple for them, to be honest. Okay, there we go. Oh, decals. Don't forget those. Can we just get them in there? And because I sort of did this little surgical operation to saying that, it's actually gone wrong on me. I'm just about to boast about something that's not quite worked out. There we go. I did this surgical operation on these little tags. So I opened it very carefully with a craft knife. We still have all the shrink wrap on it. And I put these little tags on, you see, just to hold it almost as new. But it's not genuinely sealed anymore, obviously, but it's as good as. Now then, I think we're finished on the Messerschmitt. We're going to go for... no, we won't. We'll go for the Messerschmitt now. Why not? Now, this one I'm very proud of because it's one of the more recent ones that I bought, and it is pretty much in mint condition, this one. A really beautiful example. It's got the original artwork. It's over in the on the eastern front. These Messerschmitt 110s are strafing and bombing T-34 tanks. And if you look very carefully, you can actually see that. It's quite a big battle scene going on here. Quite impressive stuff. So, yeah, and it's got this like a hornet on the nose. Many of you will remember this kit, I'm sure. This is the very first iteration of it. And it comes in some slightly unusual colours. Quite they've got some browns and yellows, I don't know. It might even be a bit worse than that. Somebody has slightly criminal, instead of putting a sticker on that's an easily removable, peelable sticker like I do, somebody's written on it. So it's not 100% mint. It would have been apart from that. It's really in good condition otherwise. This is absolutely got no creases or anything. It's so integrated, the box. Absolutely. Looks like it was built, you know, come out of the Matchbox ZEN factory last week. Anyway, so we've got the Russian front, the Staple Vespen on the Russian front, or you've got the Battle of Britain version. It's got a shark's mouth look, which is at Hayfish at Le Mans. Hayfish must be an airfield, but that's very much Battle of Britain time. September 1940, yes, the height of the Battle of Britain, in fact. So that's the one I choose. But hornet face, you've got hornet face here. Who doesn't want to put a hornet on it? It's tricky. It's tricky. Right, on the side we have adverts for kits that we've mostly seen, apart from the Swordfish, which I haven't shown you. Lightning, Mosquito, we've seen those two. Swordfish, yeah, no, we've not seen that one. Let's get one of those. So, just imagine one day when I'm gone, somebody's going to have to sell this enormous warehouse full of Matchbox mint kits. Can you imagine what they're going to go for? Somebody will have to do it like Bernie Eccleston did with his Brabham racing car collection, Brabham and Ferraris. Sell it as a job lot at say £10,000. Would that be enough? Yeah, I think we said it was worth about 10 grand, didn't we? But it's 10 grand, but you can't really get it anywhere else. It's like find another, as they say in the auction business, find another like that. You're going to really struggle. For that reason, I'm going to be extra careful with this. We won't find another. It will be very difficult to do. A little bit careful. It's so easy to bend the flaps, you know. Somebody took such good care of this, they put it in tissue paper. That tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? Look at that. Tissue paper. What's this? Clear parts in a separate tissue bag. We're really spoiled. Somebody's spoiling me here. Look at this. So this is 1975. What's this? 76 it's dated. Yeah, and that makes sense because it didn't come out in the first tranche. Yeah, it's number 15 of the orange range. So let's have a look at this then. Beautiful orange range instructions as ever, and they really are nice when you see them like this. Oops, on the back we've got some decals. That's where we've got the decals. Look at this. Look at the Hornet. Who doesn't want to put the Hornet on their plane? Yeah, I like the idea of the one that's in the Battle of Britain, but I like that Hornet even more. That's so cool. Whether these will actually work, they don't look too healthy, if I'm honest, these decals. And it is, 1976, so they're 50 years old next year. They've seen better days. And remember, if it says 1976 on it, it's been through the summer of 76, which was very hot. Anyway, anything 76 or earlier has been through that long hot summer. Anyway, the small parts guide, here we go. Machine guns, you got your gear, bombs, hey, you got your pilots with their boots on, wheels and tyres. This will be the gunner, one's the pilot, one's the gunner. In fact, I think that the pilot is the one at the front, I think it's him. And then you've got various bits of the internals and the spinners. I wonder if we'll have fired cannons through the spinners again, didn't they, like the 109. Let's see what it says here. Right. Before I unwrap this lovely goodness for you, just look at it. Look at that. That's someone who's even more OCD than I am, and I'm not. That is not a criticism, okay? I love it. It says the idea of a long-range escort fighter was investigated by several countries in the pre-war years, and a requirement was issued in Germany during 1934 for a number of companies, including Bayerische Flugzeugwerke, then much involved in the Bf 109. The prototype Bf 110 flew on May the 12th, 1936. After tests interrupted by the poor reliability of the DB 600A engines, production was ordered. And in August 1939, a total of 159 Bf 110 C aircraft were accepted into the Luftwaffe. By 1940, production rate had reached over 100 machines per month. That's quite a lot. And large numbers for that type of aircraft, that's quite a lot. I know it's not American Marauder or Mustang production. That's on a different level. Large numbers were used in the Battle of Britain, although without any great success due to the highest speeds and manoeuvrability of the single-seat fighters opposing them, the Spitfire and the Hurricane. Even the Hurricane could knock these out. A good pilot at the controls. They're a bit ungainly, they get into a dogfight, they can't outmaneuver a Hurricane even. The Bf 110, however, was used throughout the war and operated in many roles, including night fighter, escort fighter and ground attack aircraft on the Eastern Front. So there you go. Let's have a look at this. Just a quick whip through, and then we'll have a look at the parts, and we will be well on our way. So we've got the usual thing. Again, we've got that sort of setup where you've got the pilot and the gunner sitting back to back, and then they're going to go into the fuselage like so, with the canopy, quite a big glasshouse canopy on this one. You've got cannon firing backwards for the gunner. You've got twin cannons at the front, well, machine guns I think, aren't they? Twin machine guns firing from the nose. And then we've got the engines and the nacelles being built up there. I don't think we're going to get open cannon firing spinners. I've got a bad feeling here. Then you've got the tailplane. Twin tailplane is like an H, like a Lancaster style, isn't it? And then you're going to bring in all of your wings together, top and bottom wing, and the engines coming on here. And then we've got our gear coming together, the bombs. You've got option of drop tanks, fuel tanks. I say drop tanks, they're not actually for dropping, I don't think. And then you've got some radio antennas on the back under the tail. And then you're going to bring it all together here with your tanks. And you've got your bomb, like a bomb pallet of bombs that goes underneath in the centre. So it's got tanks on the wing and bombs in the centre. Quite a nice setup really, isn't it? And there's also an antenna to go on there. Looks like an afterthought there, doesn't it, that they've forgotten. Okay. So, let's have a look at what we've got in these packets then. This looks like a magical mystery tour, this is. I think this is going to be the clear part, I think. It's really amazing. I don't recall having this, opening it last time, to be honest. Let's have a look. So excited. Who knows what's going to be in here? A lucky dip. A little bit tricky to get out, I've got to tell you. Oh, okay, that's actually that's the Matchbox stand. I'm not going to get it out actually. It's just the ubiquitous Matchbox stand. So we'll leave that in peace where it is. So this therefore must be the this is the canopy glass. There we go. Quite a lot of it. It's a real glass house. That's the front, and obviously that's the rear with the gunners cut out for the gun. Nice though. Nice that they wrapped it up like this, isn't it? That's very cool. Yeah, I like that. Now then. Ooh, day-glow orange. Well, day-glow yellow, isn't it? Okay, so we've got brown. So it is correct actually. So what have we got here? Let's go through these then. So we've got all the glamorous parts first. The yellow. And we have got our drop tanks, or fuel tanks, auxiliary tanks on the wing. Got a couple of antennas there. Counterbalance weights that go on the ailerons. You've got your machine gun MG34 there. Yeah, you've got the other half of the tanks here. Our propellers. And they've got the spinners. Now this is interesting because look at this. Actually they have got the, they are hollowed out, unlike the 109 from Matchbox, which was just blunt at the end. This looks far more realistic. You know, all you need to do really is put a dab of black in there and that's job done. On the other one it was just flush and there was no indentation, so it didn't look realistic, but they do. That's really good. I'm impressed. Then over here we've got our two pilot and crew, the pilot and gunner. Got the instrumentation here. And we've got the interior of the cockpit area here between the pilot and the gunner again. Very good. Very loud colour though, isn't it? Jeez. Whew. And then sensibly on this colour they've got the lower wing very sensibly in the pale grau. Pale blau I should say. Pale blue. The typical sort of Luftwaffe pale blue, which is spot on really. You've got your pallet rack for your bombs here. Yeah, it's nice. There's nice detailing on it actually. It's better than the 109 I think, isn't it? The 109's not bad, but this is a little bit more, a bit sharper, a bit more sophisticated I think. Two bombs there. Oh yes, you've got your bombs. Look at that. Cool. That's very good. Plenty of detail. It's got all the holes already cut out for you, drilled out as well, so you don't have to start drilling holes. Something that actually does annoy me a lot. Manufacturers can't be bothered, and look, Matchbox have done it for you, and this is 50 years old, yeah? Wow, okay, well, I like that, that's very good. And then last but not least, we have got the fuselage. Which is quite nice, isn't it? Nothing wrong with that. And you've got some lovely detail on this elevators on the tailplane, horizontal stabiliser, and then the two little rudders. As I say, it's like a sort of Matchbox stroke Halifax fashion, isn't it? Exhausts, exhaust stack. Then you got your wing, top wing. Yeah, got some nice panel lining on this. They've done this really well. This is a definite step up from the 109 in terms of quality, I think. Yeah, I like it. That's a really, really nice kit, that is. Made all the nicer by the fact that, of course, it's been totally pampered by somebody and wrapped in this beautiful, lovely tissue like a gift wrapped. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put those two back to back and then stick it there and then put that one on the top there and then wrap it like so. And pop it back in. It's so nicely done, that is. It's so beautifully conceived. Someone's really taken some care about this. It's unusual because I saw it when I bought this and I thought, oh, it said, oh, it's mint condition. I thought, yeah, I've heard that before. Some people's version of mint and my version of mint are completely different. But this genuinely was mint. And I wrote to them actually and said I was delighted with it. And oops, I've got the instructions. Said how delighted I was with the kit and thanking them for being completely honest, and B, the sheer care that they put into it, and it was beautifully wrapped as well. And that always worries me. If somebody goes to all this trouble like I do, because I'm the same, and then we hand it to the postman, and yeah, less said about that, the better, really. If you know what I mean. I'm not disparaging postmen per se. I'm just mine. Okay. One more to go then. Finally, the last one before we get into the next episode, which will be all the big red range. I bet you can't wait. But this is a beauty. This is a very historic subject aircraft as well. Pudgy 5. A flaming Japanese Zero. Look at that. Another Roy Huxley, absolute classic. Flaming Japanese Zero spins down, destroyed by fighting skills of Major T.B. Maguire, who was awarded posthumously America's finest award for valour, the Congressional Medal of Honor, for his 38 combat victories. Yeah, he didn't last much longer. Sadly, he was one of these guys who he just ran out of luck, I guess. On the side of this kit, though, so this is PK 118. On the side, we've got the ME410, we've got the Stuka, and we've got the Swordfish. Over on this side, this is not absolutely perfect, this box, but it's pretty close. Pretty close. Beatties, what was that? £1. That's say £1.26, was it? And I think this is a 74, so it is actually quite old. So in that case, it is in very good condition, all things considered. So here's what we're going to look like with the plastic, hopefully. Said that before. And then we've got this beautiful artwork, which really helps you with the putting on the decals, because it's obviously got the twin booms on the P38 Lightning, which can obscure things. So they help you out by showing you a cutaway view of the nose. Yeah, Major T.B. Maguire fighting in Dutch New Guinea, October 1944. Some great views of it. Really done that well. And again, beneath you've got the 1943-1944 RAF Manston in England, in Kent. And you've got, it actually says force landed at RAF Manston. Oh, that's interesting. Where would he be flying out of then? Lightning base. Would that be another one from Honington? I've got a feeling there was some in Essex as well. Can't think where though. Maybe Great Dunmow, possibly. Somewhere like that. Was it Great Dunmow? I think that might have been a lightning base. Which is near Stansted, by the way, but it isn't Stansted, it's to the east. Anyway, there you go. You've got some detail helping you, telling you what the tail fin decking should be like. It's a nice looking model though, this is. It's an absolute beauty, isn't it? Now, this is one of the more recent acquisitions. Most of the kits were bought between 2010 and 2016, and I think I got this about 2018, 2019, quite a recent one. Getting in quite a different letter, that's going to be tricky, isn't it? I don't like to force them, they're a horrible designer box. The actual quality is good on Matchboxes, but the design's not good, is it? It's just guaranteed to get creased and have problems. Oh, it looks like we're in for some mushy peas green again, unfortunately. Okay. Mushy peas green, black, and then cream. Cream? Why cream? Why didn't they go for grey or silver or something? Strange. Okay, so we've got the ubiquitous Matchbox stand, which we didn't see in the Messerschmitt because I didn't want to take it out. There's no point, was there? They're all the same, obviously. But this is what I was explaining a little bit earlier when I said in the Havoc it was missing because that was a 1983 issue, and of course Lesney Products and Company Limited went out of business in '82. So sadly the stands got dropped, and that was a real mistake. I'm sure they could have done something with that tool just for a few pounds. Somebody could have modified it out. I'm sure it could have been done with somebody skillful. Even a modeller could probably do it, you know. It's just a bit short-sightedness. Because the stand was one of the things that made Matchbox kits really great, these aeroplanes. You had the stands making the aeroplanes great, and you had the dioramas making the tanks and armoured vehicles great. Anyway, we've also got our little... well, I'll come to that in a second. I don't want to keep zooming in and out. I've got this habit of getting my sequencing a bit out. Let's just read this first. So it says, in 1936, a US Army proposal for a twin-engine fighter resulted in the submissions from a number of manufacturers, and the XP-38, which was the final winner amongst the competition designs, was ordered as a prototype in June of 1937. Although the prototype crashed only a few weeks and under 12 hours flying time, oopsie poopsie, that's a bit very unfortunate, isn't it? The 13 YP-38 aircraft ordered were delivered in before March 1931. Okay. Lightnings were purchased for the Royal Air Force in April of 1940. I tell you what, could have done with those in the Battle of Britain, couldn't we? I tell you. But the machine was never used in any quantity by the Royal Air Force, as it did not prove successful due to limitations imposed as a result of problems with tail flutter. Yeah, I've heard of this before. Many variants were produced. In fact, several. I think a couple of RF parts were killed. Many variants were produced, and the L version, as depicted here, was fitted with the Allison V1710/111 and 113 engines. Rocket equipment was introduced in the form of 5-unit launching trees under each wing, and after an early checkered career, the Lightning flourished and served with distinction in many theatres of war, and the machine became a highly successful fighter. Now, of course, it's most famous for the assassination of Isakuro Yamamoto, isn't it? The Japanese admiral over Rabaul. They absolutely had this Operation Vengeance and caught him napping in his Betty bomber, despite being surrounded by Zeros. They absolutely mauled him, and his bomber went straight down, and he died in his seat, still with his samurai sword in his hand, I reckon. Incredible. Anyway, so it's a very famous aircraft for that, if nothing else. And they were also very effective in around D-Day and beyond over Europe, attacking things like the Focke-Wulf 190s from the Luftwaffe, and ground attacking through France and the Low Countries into Germany at the end of the war. So there we go, Lockheed Lightning, very nice. So let's have a look at this then. Lovely orange range, I should say. Orange range leaflet instructions, as it should be. And then we've got the typical thing here, we've got the pilot going in. It's an unusual design because you have this central, like a central gondola that the pilot sits in. The cockpit is a gondola in the middle. And then we have the inner wings going on here, complete with this canopy and his nose. Then you're going to build up your engines. You've got to do this twice, of course. 2 lots of engines for either boom, and then the booms themselves, which are like a fuselage within itself, aren't they? You've got your supercharger intakes going on there, and then you're going to bring it all together here with your tailplane. They used to call this aircraft the Forked-Tailed Devil. That was the nickname the Germans gave it, and they were very afraid of it because they knew it was extremely quick, very manoeuvrable, and absolutely full of weapons, you know, and a nose just absolutely bulging with guns and cannon. And then, of course, there was the underwing weapons as well, like the rockets. Anyway, putting your wings on there. Then you're going to put in your gear and your fuel tank. You've got optional fuel tanks which go under the fuselage in this case. And then you've got your underwing rockets at the bottom there. Look at that. So they go in these trees that go under the wings. Put your gear in, etc, etc. And because this is a Leslie product from '74, just going back to here, yes, you can put it on the flight stand if you open up the slot. On the back we've got just our usual small parts guide, mainly gear, the supercharger, spinner, propeller, and the interior for the cockpit area and the pilot. And the rockets indeed. So let's have a look at this last one then, and then I can go and have a bite to eat because I'm getting a bit hungry now. Another long video. So we've got the booms. I don't like the mushy green. I think that's a silly choice. Should have gone for maybe 2 colours of grey would have been better, or even white. A pale grey and a dark grey would have suited better than green and cream. But anyway, there we go. So yeah, we've got the boom here with the tail, and then we have got the. So they're in 2 sides. They have one side has both sides of the actual tail, and then there's like an insert here, which is this piece here. Inserts onto the other side. Well, that one goes with that one, obviously, and this one goes with this one. Very, very nice, though. Really cool. You've got these great big intakes, haven't you, for the. It's actually the radiator cooling for the engines, I think. They've got quite an unusual system there, so it's got the intakes really well back on the boom. not where you'd expect them to be. Do you know what I mean? You get your superchargers here, and you got these intakes, radiator intakes, right back. So it must have a load of plumbing back and forth here. Very unusual. Interesting design. So then we've got our canopy, which is here. Looks very nice. Yeah, you might want to maybe get a little mast set for this. Then we've got the inboard wings here, between the gondola, which is the main. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. So this is your cockpit area, the central gondola here. This is where the cockpit is, where the pilot sits, and then he sits between the two booms. So it's a really unusual aircraft, isn't it? And we know that Howard Hughes went on to have something similar, didn't he? So here's your inboard wings, and then you've got your main tailplane with the elevator here, and then you've got your outboard wings, top and bottom there. They haven't split the colours, have they, this time, interestingly? And then here we've got the lower tails. Why is that separate though? That's interesting. That's got me slightly foxed. Why is that separate? Because I thought that they were complete. Not complete. Just a moment. I've got a slight query here. There's a part there that doesn't make sense. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Sorry, I'm forgetting that these. These are actually part of the tailplane, part of the horizontal stabilisation. They have a sort of a fin that sticks out the side, as well as the main. It's not like the Messerschmitt 110. It goes beyond the vertical stabiliser, the tailplane. Interestingly, quite an interesting aerodynamic philosophy. You can see what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this here. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? You see it there, how it sticks out beyond the vertical tailplane. Yeah, and then finally we have got our interesting sprue with all the real business on it. You've got the twin drop tanks, you've got your intakes here for your front of your engine nacelles, you have got your nose here, including where these you got 50 cal. What is the weapon armament? Does it say? Four 50 cals and 120mm AN/M2 cannon. Amazing, that's cool. So it's got a big 20mm cannon in the middle and 4 50 cals around it. So, and very easy, of course, there's no synchronisation needed because it's firing from the nose right in front of the pilot. So it's very easy for him to aim it. Must have been a doddle, really. And then you've got your rockets along here. Spinners there. Propellers there, sorry. Yeah, and your spinners are there. Spinners. All your rockets here. Superchargers here. Yeah, very cool. Nice model. Nice model. Some very fine detailing there as well. Look at the detail there. That's quite cool, isn't it? That is a really nice one, and I actually found it quite difficult to get one of these in good condition. So they are quite tricky to get an original issue, 1974, the genuine article, you know. So yeah, I managed to do it in the end, and it certainly wasn't easy, I can tell you. I don't think those decals are in too good a shape. It's the only thing that's not sort of minted it, you know. Okay, so pop this back. Pop that back in there. See if we can just manoeuvre things in, which probably won't be easy. There we go. It did go in the end, no problem. Just be a little bit careful with those. That's it. What a lovely kit. What an absolutely knockout thing. And I say, it's quite a famous aircraft. And this gentleman, T.B. Maguire, was an ace pilot, and he ran out of luck and he got shot down by some Zeros, I think. I suppose that, you know, it's a bit like Pappy Boynton. The same with him, he ran out of luck, didn't he? And here was the other guy, the top scorer in the Pacific. Picture his face. Oh, pom 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 pom. it's gone. I won't try and remember. I'm sure many of you know I'm talking about. He was the top scorer, and he didn't run out a lot, but he ended up test flying jets and ended up killed in a experimental jet crash just after the war. No, it's yeah. I think that you're playing with the roulette wheel, aren't you, when you're in this game? Dangerous stuff. Anyway, enough of that. Did you enjoy that selection of the orange range and also the other items that I showed you? The JU-88 there as well. We've got the Indianapolis. Actually, it's probably more sensible, isn't it? Indianapolis. There we go. Quite a selection. Some nice kits there. All nice kits. Particularly proud of the 110, which is absolutely mint. And these are ones that were given to me very generously by kind donors, you could say. You guys, keep them coming. Sounds like I'm grifting, trying to get some free kits. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting to see those kits. You know, as when they were new, most of them look like they were almost new, and it brings back some memories of kits that you've obviously had yourselves in the past. Brings back those childhood memories that we all, you know, childhood happy, long sunny days. You know, playing with our Matchbox toys with our friends and all that sort of thing. All good fun, all good stuff. Hope it brought a smile to you today. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to stay tuned. We've got those red rays, those monster kits, the big ones, the Mitchell, we've got the Phantom, we've got the Heinkel 111, the Wellington, we've got the Marauder, and the Tomcat. Any more that I can think of? Is that it? That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Some real monster kits and some beautiful examples. I've got at least 4. I've got more than 4, but I've got 4 particularly mint examples to show you. Stay tuned for that. That's episode 11. Hope to see you again very, very soon. In the meantime, thank you for all your time watching this. You got to the end and you did very well. You did very well. So did I. It's been quite hard work, this, but I have to say, as to quote my wife, she said, "Oh, this isn't work really." She says it might be. Yes, you've got to be on it. But she said it's like a kid in a sweet shop opening all these again. You can see that silly grin on your face like a child. And it is, and that's the whole point. That's what I'm doing it for. It brings me a lot of pleasure, and I hope it brings you the same pleasure as well. Anyway, until next time, stay tuned for the last 2. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. Stay well, stay safe. And until next time, thanks a lot, and bye for now.